Hello, Mr. Powell. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to tonight's City of Casa Grande study session. Tonight we're going to have an update on fireworks, or a briefing on the fireworks. So hand that off to you, Chief. The floor is yours.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Council. Fireworks enforcement and a briefing. I'm going to kind of go over this, just a little bit of background for you guys. My previous employer in California, firefighters are arson investigators, so they go to the police academy. And they carry guns and they work at the police department. So we did, and I have a lot of experience with fireworks enforcement. So it was a subject that I know quite a bit about. I will tell you that the laws are different here in Arizona than they are in California. I came from a city that had a zero tolerance. No fireworks were allowed at all. You'll hear the term safe and sane a lot of times in California. A lot of jurisdictions allow safe and sane fireworks, but the jurisdiction I came from didn't at all. So I'm going to try to answer your questions and fill you in on some of this, and we'll answer some questions for you at the end if you have any. In terms of fireworks enforcement in the city of Casa Grande, in terms of fireworks enforcement here in the city, there's four entities that are responsible for it. It's the fire department, the police department, code enforcement, and also the city attorney's office. We're going to talk about fireworks, permissible fireworks, and I'll use some different terms, and I'll show you guys some examples so you'll understand which particular fireworks I'm talking about. But basically, there's different laws on this too. There's the ARS laws that were changed a couple of years ago, and then there's a city ordinance on it. And we're going to talk a little bit about that the city ordinance doesn't match up exactly with the ARS, which sometimes you guys know can be a problem. I think a few weeks ago with the flag code, you guys saw that it was better to make sure that the stuff kind of matched what the state code says. And we'll talk about that, and obviously Mr. Wallace is here to help with that as well. So sales of fireworks, permissible fireworks, the ones you're allowed to sell, are from May 20th to July 6th and December 10th to January 3rd. Permissible fireworks, using them, actually shooting them off, has to occur between those dates, June 24th to July 6th and December 24th and January 3rd. The ARS section has some provisions for when the county achieves a population level of above 500,000, and then it'll also allow for fireworks during Cinco de Mayo during that period of time, May 4th to May 6th. In terms of fireworks types, these are the ones that are allowed here in Casa Grande and in the state year-round, and you guys probably have seen some of these. These fireworks are sold at Fry's, they're sold at other stores in the city. And these are snappers. You'll see that next to the penny up there, they're little, it almost looks like a little piece of toilet paper, and you throw it, and the friction causes it to pop. Snap caps, everybody's seen those at parties. You pull the string and it pops, and some streamers come out and a little bit of noise. The glowworms are the ones you light on fire, and they kind of go from being a pellet, and they turn into a snake or a worm. Smoke bombs, I think everybody's probably seen those over the years. And the big one is sparklers. I wanted to talk a little bit about sparklers. So everybody basically sees these and thinks, these aren't bad, these are okay, these are fine. I can tell you that sparklers cause a significant amount of injuries to children under 5 years old every year. You're giving them a stick that's lit on fire, and it burns anywhere from 1,800 up to 3,000 degrees, and they can be very dangerous. And I can tell you also that these fireworks start fires. I've seen some of these ones that you see up here on this board that are supposed to be pretty harmless and not very dangerous, thrown in a car and start a car on fire and other things like that. And I've seen houses that have been set on fire by people having these fireworks inside, and it basically causes a fire in their home. The next type are the permissible or seasonal use. Those are the ones we talked about with the dates that you're allowed to sell them. Those include like the ground spinners, sparkling wheels, and fountains. Ground spinners, you guys have seen those before. You light them, and you throw them on the ground, and they spin around. Sparkling wheels are usually attached to like a stick or a pole, or they'll nail them to a wooden post or something. And fountains, everybody's seen fountains. Fountains, you light them on fire and they shoot sparks, but the device actually sits on the ground when it's shooting out. Those kind are all legal and basically are the ones you would consider to be called safe and sane. Everything we've covered so far. These are the ones that are illegal, and because of our proximity to Mexico and the border, these are the kinds that a lot of these are able to make their way into the United States and into people's hands here. It's difficult sometimes as an officer and even as a firefighter to determine whether something's legal or illegal, but the bottom line on illegal fireworks, the best thing or the biggest thing to remember is if it propels into the sky or it explodes, it's an illegal firework. And those ones that you see up there are basically what I'm talking about. You're talking about skyrockets. People light them, they shoot up in the air and explode. Those are illegal fireworks. Those aren't allowed anytime in Arizona at all. Firecrackers, again, dangerous for kids. When I first became an arson investigator, one of the first calls I went on was a kid who had a firecracker. It was actually an M80, so it was a little bit bigger than a firecracker. And he went to throw it, and as he went to throw it, it blew up right here, and it blew his cheek off of his face. I didn't bring any of the pictures, but I've got some pictures of these things, and you'll see the injuries that are caused by these are horrendous. It's an explosion. So, and it's gunpowder, and it's combustible material, so it does cause a significant injury. For example, if somebody keeps it in their hand or they hold it too long, there's a lot of, and you can Google it on the internet, there's a lot of pictures of people that had firecrackers or M80s in their hands and they went off. The injuries are horrendous when it happens. Roman candles, same thing. You can hold them in your hand like that gentleman's doing in the picture, which isn't the greatest thing to do, but you can also set them on the ground, but they shoot balls of fire up into the air that also explode. So again, any aerial-based firework. And then the kind in the bottom right there, that's the kind you typically see that we have over at our show at the rodeo grounds. That's a mortar round. The bottom part of it, on the very bottom of, that's the propellant. When you light the fuse, it lights that first, which propels it up into the air, and then that mortar or the round thing has gunpowder and other combustibles in it, along with like aluminum, iron, steel, magnesium, different things that burn and cause the sparkly or the different colors and stuff. And those I can tell you, that's one of the reasons why you have to have a permit to do that. We require the people that shoot the shows off to have a license and have a permit to do it. And those can be very dangerous. Last year, just during our show alone, we had about 5 or 6 fires that were caused by the aerial fireworks or the material coming down. And you guys, I'm sure you guys already know, we keep 2 fire engines over at the fireworks show when it's going on to take care of that and combat that. And we also make sure that nobody's in that area when it's happening. I know years ago, I saw a mortar round like that come down. We did our fireworks show in California at a place called Veterans Stadium, and a mortar round like that came down that hadn't exploded in it. It went in, it hit the top of a Toyota pickup truck that had a shell on it and went into the back of that truck, and it basically exploded the whole shell. And pieces of it went everywhere. Again, it was in an area, luckily there was no people around there, but it's very dangerous. I mean, it's black powder. It's a dangerous substance to possess or have without the proper knowledge. We have an ordinance for fireworks in the city. And these, I want to talk to you about this. This stuff that's on this, the no sales to anyone under 16, that still stands. That's in the ARS, and we don't sell to under 16. Some of the other stuff that's on here is not correct anymore. For example, the ordinance says you can't do it at any parks or on any roadways, and that's no longer in the ARS. Obviously, permits are required for properly supervised displays, and we have very specific requirements. We go out and inspect them, we check their licenses and do all that. So one of the things a takeaway that we're talking about today is that we believe that the city code should probably be amended to more align with the dates and stuff from the state statute and to address some of the other changes that are in the state legislature. And I didn't highlight all the stuff that's in the ordinance that's not correct anymore, but there's some other, like there's an example thing that says the fire chief can say, today's not a good day to shoot fireworks off. Well, that's not the case anymore. If there's a declared stage 1 fire alert for the state, then it's prohibited to shoot them off. The next page also, these are the penalties that are listed in the ordinance. These are no longer accurate as well. Okay.
Those penalties, there is, and I'll speak to it a little bit if anyone has any questions, but there are pieces of the ordinance we certainly are no longer in conformance with state statute as they continue to change it. But some of it and most of it we can still live with. The dates are very different, but I'll let the chief
Correct.
finish. So.
Thank you, sir. So I guess wanted to kind of talk to you guys about, and I don't really even know what precipitated this discussion other than you guys probably just wanted the knowledge about this, but some of the challenges are the sale of permissible fireworks are allowed by state law for a pretty significant period of time. You guys saw the periods of times that are up there. So it's very difficult for our ordinance to say, you can shoot fireworks off this one day, even though we're selling them for a month. Second, the lack of knowledge by our citizenry on the applicable laws. I'm pretty good with fireworks laws, and the Arizona ones are pretty confusing. And when you try to mix it with the Casa Grande ordinance and the ARS, it gets really confusing. So the 911 call load to our communication center, typically on a busy day, the police will answer probably 135 to 150 calls for service. The 911 calls typically on the 4th of July or New Year's Eve or days when we're having fireworks and stuff like that, it increases about 45 or 50 calls. That doesn't sound like a lot, but that is a lot because it's specifically during the evening hours when this kind of stuff is going on. People aren't typically shooting off fireworks at 9:30 in the morning. They're trying to wait till it gets dark so they look better. 60,000 citizens in the city now, and we have a very small enforcement force. Our police department's already very busy doing all the regular stuff they do, and the fire department's already busy doing all the regular stuff they do. I have 2 people that are able to work on fireworks stuff exclusively on this particular day. I just wanted to kind of mention again, all fireworks are dangerous, but the illegal fireworks we talked about are the ones that are really dangerous. Those are the ones that can cause death, they cause serious injuries, and they can also cause significant fires. So kind of our strategy, and I wanted to kind of talk about enforcement a little bit, and it's not exactly enforcement, because the example is this, is that temporary businesses come to town to sell fireworks during that period of time. And we assist them, and it's not really enforcement, it's more with education. We go out and speak to them and make sure that they comply with all the stuff that they're supposed to comply with. And if they don't, we help them and get them in line with what they're supposed to have. And I would say it's akin to like the food trucks that come into town. We make sure that they're following the regulations and following the policies and the statutes that we have established. So it's not enforcement where we're arresting people or writing tickets, but it's more advising them what the code is and trying to make sure they're in compliance before they open up and start selling the fireworks. The study session is really kind of the first leg of this. We're trying to educate everybody, and hopefully people will understand and hear what we're talking about. I think the PIO's office is going to do some newspaper articles. My department's going to do some information on fireworks, and they're probably going to do some videos on showing how easily it is for a firework to start a fire, which we'll do out at the training center. Social media posts are already started. A town hall meeting, I guess the mayor probably will mention this during his town hall meetings. And the beat teams. The police officers, again, the police officers have their regular calls for service, and on days like 4th of July and New Year's Eve are days where families are together, there's drinking and a lot of other stuff going on, so their calls for service are already busy, and the fire department's already very busy. So in terms of enforcement, I can tell you it's very difficult as a person who's done this. I've gone out to locations where people say, okay, these people are shooting fireworks, and literally as you're talking to them, because they're going to want a big, long explanation. 4 houses down there doing it, and 8 houses down somebody else is doing it. So there's so many people doing it, it's very difficult to enforce it. It's a lot easier just to kind of drill in on the illegal stuff. And if somebody shoots fireworks on somebody's house or sets something on fire, then obviously there'll be some enforcement. Police department's detectives will assist us. We'll work with the county attorney's office and that kind of thing. But we're not looking to go out and write a bunch of citations or warnings. I don't have the people to do it. Chief McCrory doesn't have the people to do it. There are extra police officers that work on the 4th of July, but they're working a special event, which is the fireworks show, to help with traffic control and helping us keep people out of the exclusion zones and away from the fireworks show. So in terms of enforcement, that's really where we're at with enforcement. Hopefully I've answered and helped you guys with some of this. I'm prepared to answer any questions that you guys might have about this.
Go ahead, Lisa. It was a tie.
Oh, I was looking this way, so I didn't see. No, and this is good. It's good timing since we have 4th of July coming up. So I am glad we're going through this. And of course, I think the calls that I get and see all over social media is the animals and how it affects people's dogs and everything. So, and I know you didn't go through it too much, that part of your PSAs and everything are going to be on animal care. And so I would imagine, so I really do hope you do push out a lot of information on that too. Because I think people that are setting the fireworks off aren't thinking about how it is affecting people in their home with the PTSD or animals or whatever. So I really do hope not only fire safety and everything, that is, critical for our community. It really is. I mean, I know around the 4th, I'm sure you all got calls and saw it on CG Chat about, how it's affecting some of the animals. So I'm really hoping that you really do push some of that information out also.
As a dog owner, I'll commit to you that when we do ours, we will make sure we talk about that.
And there's nothing we can do, right? I mean, because, if
There really
the state
isn't.
statute, yeah.
Well, all the safe and sane fireworks don't blow up.
Right.
It's the illegal ones that are blowing up that's bothering
Yeah,
the
the
dogs.
explosions typically, but the other ones do as well. They do whistling noises and they do other different noises, and I'm sympathetic to them, but I just don't know that there's anything we can do specifically about that.
Donna?
Tim.
Well, a couple things, Chief, just so you know, this is probably one of the highest responses that I've gotten after the 4th of July and, New Year's Eve from people. Because animals, like Lisa said, is been a really big problem. But also the people that, have issues around PTSD. But I also received several calls from people that had to go and get their elderly parent and take them home because they were so scared that it was gunshots. And I understand when we say there's not a lot we can do, but education is going to be key to that. My only question for you is that when you talked about the illegal ones versus the legal, when we have people that come in and set up, camp for a week and sell these, are we making sure that they are not selling what we consider illegal?
Absolutely. And they're actually pretty good about it because they realize that if we catch them doing that, we're going to call his guys over and we're going to seize all their fireworks. So yeah, they're pretty careful about that. And most of the people that are selling are they're doing it as fundraisers for community groups and different groups like that. They're not going to take the risk of doing that. The majority of the stuff that's coming in is stuff that comes in across the border, or people get it down there and bring it up here.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Powell?
One thing you can do with dogs is put cotton balls in their ears, seriously, to help the sound not be as scary to them. One of the things that I wanted to mention is the horses, all the animals that are over, we want to try to not have those things go on over the rodeo grounds. We'd much rather them go off over by the baseball fields.
Correct, and that's one of the reasons we moved further to the west last year.
Yeah.
We moved further to the west, although, interesting enough, Mr. Powell, we actually had to delay the show because somebody right over at the
I remember
stables
that.
was shooting off fireworks, and it was like,
Yeah, had 2 shows going on.
yeah, so.
The,
Colonial del Sol.
No?
they were innocent,
Anybody else have any questions?
Well, just one other comment is, sometimes you get a lot of guns going off instead of firecrackers on those dates that you've got in here. And I guess if we know somebody's doing it, we get a hold of the police department. But
Absolutely, and
That's-
I'll
that's
speak
about
for
all
them
you
when I
can
tell
do.
you that that's a 911 call, and they will respond, and if they catch them, they'll arrest them for it.
Jeff, you had a question?
I just want to thank the chief. This is an issue that I had brought up after January 1st, and I think educating the public so they know what's going on will help bring it down, and then maybe some of the abusers then could be gone after then. But it was out of control on January 1st, but I think people don't know what the laws are, so getting that information out there, I think, will be very helpful.
Sooner the better, because
Yes.
they'll prevent them from going down to Mexico and buying the illegal ones.
We will, we'll get to work with the city PIO office this next week and see what we can do.
Okay, great. Anybody else have any comments or questions? Thank you, Chief.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right, we're going to stand adjourned till 7 o'clock. Thank you, everybody.